How are we? How are we? Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you all. I hope you're doing well, and welcome back to another deadline stream. It is Game Week 24, the week after the chaos that we had last week. Hopefully, things are a little bit calmer than they were this time last week. Thank you all very much for joining. If you are in early, I appreciate you a lot. I hope you've had a good week. Hope you're excited for the weekend. I hope you've got nice things planned. And yeah, we'll be live for the next couple of hours, answering all of your questions, doing all of the usual stuff that we do during the deadline stream. Before we get into all of that, let's answer some of your questions. Let's say hello in the chat first. And yeah, let's do the usual things. Let's say hello to a few of you. Hello to TYB. Hello to FPL Vert. Hello to Ozspike. Hello to Amy. Hello to James. Hello to Rayship. Hello to Immortal. Hello to Sam. Hello to Jordan, Matt, Ian. And yeah, all the members and moderators in this morning, thank you all very much, especially for your support on the channel and to everyone else as well. Saksham, Amelia, Chris, Objectives, Big Marco, FPL Doctor, Ngolo, Azir, Mr. Gold, Andrew, Anish, Ruben, Jackson, Alex, Sam, Peter, Kaj, John, Adrian, Matt, George, Neil, Thomas, Elzai, Monday, Diego, Boniface, Anjan, Fraser, Giandre, Giles, Ozzy, FPL Joe, and Asim. Good morning to you all. FPL Joe, nice to see you in. I hope you're having a nice weekend. Cool. Let's just kick it off very quickly. Would I start Anderson of Nottingham Forest, of Fulham, or Van den Berg? You can also sell Dorgu to Cash or Richards for a hit. I would just play Anderson, I think. I don't think there's many defenders. I think there's quite a few people in the same position as me, where they're considering a defender upgrade, and is it worth it for a hit or to use a transfer when you've got someone like Anderson just sitting on the bench. And I would probably just play Anderson in all of those scenarios. Before we get into it, I just want to say a big thank you to all for feeling very appreciative and sentimental about everything on the channel, on socials as well, over the past month and over Christmas as well. And yeah, I just want to say a massive thank you to all of you for all of your support, all of your love on the channel, and just being here every single week. And yeah, choosing to watch and choosing to like and stuff. Yeah, big thank you to all. It doesn't go unnoticed, and yeah, I'm massively appreciative of it. And on that note, if you could like as well, that would be much appreciated. Yes, hoping to do more and better than I've done over the past couple of weeks. One big thing that's going to be a deciding factor probably this week is the captaincy, which is currently moved to Bruno Fernandes. We will talk about that in a moment. You love the Tuesday video. All right, thank you. For anyone who's just watches the streams and doesn't watch all the videos, I've sort of restructured my videos to try and get them all to 20 minutes, basically every video as close to it as possible, because the Wednesday video was getting to 35 minutes, which is not really what I wanted, and it's not really what I've done in the past. Like, absolutely, if your content fits that, but it's not really what I've done historically, and it's not really what a lot of you say that you like my videos for. So I've cut it down, and I've also then added a Tuesday video, which will also be about similar length, but it means I will always cover a wildcard draft. I will always cover a free hit draft. I will always have more time to answer the questions that you want me to answer. And yeah, so hopefully, as some people in the chat saying that it's more well thought out, and it fits answering everything that you need a little bit better than it did historically. So I hope you liked it. I hope you appreciate it. Once we get to a week where there's a Wednesday deadline or Tuesday deadline, then I have to rethink exactly how it works. But that's kind of the plan going forward. Whether I have the time in my life to try and add an extra video, because I'm already working or making content from dawn till dusk, it feels like every day. But yeah, I'm sure I'll be able to find time and make it work. As long as you're appreciating it, then yeah, yeah, then I'm happy. I'm more than happy to do it. Of course, apart from the Bruno captain, the other big thing that people are saying in the chat is that I've benched Saka. Dorgu is out injured, right? He's out for many months. So I'm going to get Saka as an auto sub in for Dorgu. I've done it before. I've done it historically. And so, yeah, it's just an auto sub. It's a bit of fun. But also, I don't think Saka has been particularly performing well enough over the past few weeks. And you have to earn the right to play in my team. And yeah, he hasn't earned the right to play. So he's going on the bench. He's going on the bench. He hasn't earned the right to be in my team over the past few weeks. To be honest, nor is Thiago. He could have been benched. Nor is Ekitike. He could have been benched. Nor is Rice, although he's still living off the 17 pointer, so he's all right. I'm not going to bench Haaland because I might captain him. And the defenders kind of just do their thing. So Saka is... he's on the bench. He will, of course. I may as well just put it in for now, just because I don't have to answer the questions on it. But I'll get the auto sub, of course, right? And for anyone who's watched the channel for a while knows that is something that I historically do. What if Carrick pulls an Arteta? I know you always run that risk, right? That is always a little bit of a debate. How ruled out are they to run the risk, right? How close to them being back is it for them to run the risk of doing it? Because if they then suddenly turn up and you've benched someone who does really well, of course you're going to look like an idiot. But it does look like Dorgu is out for quite a long time. So I don't really feel like I've got that risk. So the big thing for me is that we've spoken about a lot this week was does a team that looks like mine need a wild card? Now, the reason I've spoken about it quite a lot this week is not because I plan on wildcarding, right? Because I plan on saving my wildcard until 32 when the blanks and doubles are likely to be announced and confirmed, right? So that's my plan, and that will always be my plan. And hopefully between now and then, I don't drop in rank too much in order to get hopefully the gains once we do that. But I know a lot of you are considering a wildcard and have teams that fall into a similar category of what mine looks like. And as a result, I've used my team in a lot of the videos this week as an example of why you might want to consider wildcarding and why you might want to consider saving it. I'm almost certainly going to save it. Or I am definitely going to save it this week, and I'm almost certainly going to save it until game week 32. So that's where I'm at. I don't think my team needs enough changes. I'm hoping that there might be some benchings in the Chelsea lineup, which don't make me feel quite as bad, because there's been like 2 million transfers in for Chelsea players this week, and without any of them in my team, it doesn't feel that great. I honestly feel if I had Enzo in for Dewsbury Hall, which I don't have the value to do it, right? I'd have to do a second transfer. But if I had Enzo in for Dewsbury Hall, I think my team, no one would say my team needs a wild card. I honestly think I'm one player away. So yeah, that's where we're at. But yeah, plan is to roll the transfer. It's just what I do in terms of captaincy. I have moved it from Haaland to Bruno. Now, the thing is, anyone who's gone against Haaland this season will know that it hasn't gone particularly well. And everyone's like, oh, his away record this season. The 2 weeks people went against him, it was like his away record isn't that good. And then he scored a 14-pointer away at Fulham and a 13-pointer away at Palace. But apart from that, his home record has been much better. He's also scored 13 away at Wolves on the opening day, so that point doesn't really last. Bruno's been good recently, 7, 10, 5. Fulham at home this week. I think it is a really close and a really difficult one. I really haven't decided. I've moved it off Haaland onto Bruno, but I don't know how much confidence I have in that, really. Why not buy Chalobah? So I could do Tarkowski to Chalobah. That's a transfer that I could do. I also have exact money for Verbruggen to Sanchez, but the thing I've got to remember is there's a chance that Everton also double. Like, if we get midweek and Chelsea knock Arsenal out the cup and Everton double, there is a much better ways of me getting Chelsea players than selling Tarkowski, who then also double. So the only real way for me to get a Chelsea player into my team is to sell an Arsenal midfielder and they might double, to sell Tarkowski and he might double, or to do Verbruggen to Sanchez. And I don't think a goalkeeper transfer is worth it this week. So unless I'm willing to take a hit, I don't really think it makes sense. I don't really have a route to buy a Chelsea player into my team. I need Rodgers, yeah, quite possibly. Something if we get to next week and Arsenal get knocked out, Saka to Enzo, Dewsbury Hall to Rodgers. Actually, I probably wouldn't sell Dewsbury Hall because Dewsbury Hall would then be doubling. But yeah, Rodgers is an interesting one, and his returns have not been that great over the past few weeks, but I do really like him as a pick. So I do wish I had Rodgers, but I don't think I need to sell Rice. I think Rice is still a good pick if Arsenal can turn up a little bit. His data has still been pretty good. Is Rodgers better? Maybe. But if Rice is going to double, then I don't want to sell him. I'm obviously not selling Bruno. I'm not selling Saka at the moment, which leaves Anderson and Dewsbury Hall. And to get to Rodgers, it's a lot of money. Now, of course, the big issue would be Ekitike, right? And if Ekitike doesn't perform this week, that may be it for him. Yeah, the other thing I like about Rodgers is his minutes, but also I posted about this on Twitter, is the notification test, right? When you get all of the apps that you use to get a notification for a goal in the Premier League, they don't tell you who the scorer is first, right? They'll just tell you 1-0 Aston Villa or 1-0 Manchester City, right? And maybe it's because he's highly owned, but Rodgers is one of those players that when I see that notification, I'm convinced that Rodgers will have some involvement in that goal. He terrifies me when I get a Villa notification. Now, partly is due to his ownership, but partly because he is so involved in everything Villa do, which I really like. Goal involvement percentages are really, really important. If a team scores, what is the percentage chance that your player is involved? And Haaland had one at one point, which was 60%. And Bruno is another one. That's why we all like Bruno. But it is the reason we all like Haaland as well, right? Because Haaland is very big on the notification test. If you don't own Haaland, now part of that's because he's terrifying for your rank if you don't own him. But yeah, I think the thing is with Haaland, over the last month since game week 18, he hasn't really had that much. It does just depend on if we think Van de Ven is going to play. He hasn't really had... He had a bit against Brighton, but he scored a pen that day. His data hasn't been quite as good. So it's on Bruno at the moment, but I'm definitely not ruling out moving it. Is talking about FPL your full-time job? It is, and I'm very, very lucky and grateful to be in that position. So thank you all. But yes, somehow it is. Some of you asking in the chat, are we expecting team news or leaks on anyone? Not really. Yeah, not really. Chelsea are too late. Liverpool, potentially. We got it quite early last week. No, we didn't. The week before we got it, because we didn't get the Ekitike news last week. Yeah, I think we got it for the 3 o'clock when it was a 12:30 kickoff. So we could get Liverpool, but we're probably not expecting Chelsea news. We never really get it, and they're not the early kickoff as well. How comfortable are you with 0 Chelsea? I'm absolutely bricking it. And I'm also a Chelsea fan who's going to be at the game. So I'll be there celebrating all the goals, but knowing it will be damaging my rank at the same time. The Premier League FPL app shows the scorer on notifications. Yeah, it does. It's just slightly delayed compared to real time. But yes, it does. Opinion on Palmer, captain. So I do think Palmer will probably start today, but I still think he has reduced minutes, which as a result means I don't think I'd probably captain him. I also just don't think he's looked that great. I know he got a couple of assists midweek, but I still don't think he looks fully back to it. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I'd be captaining Palmer. I think he's enough of a differential just owning him in the first place, to be honest. Yeah, anyway, there are a few super chats which I haven't looked at yet. So, start Anderson we did. Should I bench boost Dubravka, Senesi, Tarkowski, Mane? So, a few of you have good benches this week, but I would only play your bench boost this week if you have a good bench and you've already wildcarded. If you've still got your wildcard, I wouldn't be bench boosting because you can set your bench boost up for a double game week. But if you've already wildcarded, I would be playing the bench boost with a lot of those benches that you've got. Like, again, Jason asking, would I bench boost Dubravka, Elliot Anderson, Mukiele, Ronaldo, with two of them at home to Burnley? If you've played your wildcard, I would. If you haven't, then I would probably save it and set your team up for the double. Kaka, would I wildcard your team? Probably not. I mean, you've got Dubravka, you've got Gabriel. Hincape's slight issue. I don't mean Hammond. You've got Enzo, Wilson, Bruno Fernandes, Semenyo, Ekitike, Haaland. So no, I definitely wouldn't wildcard that. Start three, Gabriel, Maguire, Timber, Senesi, Cash. I mean, Gabriel and Timber definitely start. And then I'd probably bench Maguire and Senesi and play Cash, I think. Unless you've got Thiago, in which case you can bench Cash and play Maguire. Senesi's probably last on that list. You own Illiman and Die. Would I start Dubravka over Verbruggen? Partly, yes, just to have something on Monday night as well. But yeah. What app do I use to get the score updates? I use an app called FootMob. I was lucky enough to work with them at the beginning of the season, but they also give you score notifications as goals go in, but they also give you the scores on your home screen before you even unlock your phone, which is something I've wanted and tried to do actually for so many years until I realized that FootMob were able to do it. So literally you don't even have to unlock your phone and it will tell you all the scores of all the matches of the games that you're following. Would I sell Tavernier, Foden, Ekitike for Bruno, Mbeumo, Evan Nilsson? So I don't like selling Ekitike this week, but if it gets you Bruno and Mbeumo, then yes, I'm fine with it. Sell Senesi or Mukiele. Play Senesi or Mukiele. I play Mukiele, definitely. Malik Chow to Calafiori or Pope to Raya. You have Gabriel and Saka. I'm not sure I'd be taking the risk on Calafiori and his minutes at the moment. So if I had to do it, I'd do Pope to Raya. I'm not sure I'd buy Calafiori. If you could do Chaël to Saliba, then potentially. But outside of that, no, I wouldn't. Would I bench boost with Dubravka and Dye, Creepy and Collins? If you've already wildcarded, then potentially. But if you haven't, that's the same for a lot of people with bench boost this week. The answer is, if it looks good enough, but you've played and you haven't wildcarded, then save it. But if you have wildcarded, then don't. Ekitike to Krupi, is it silly? Enables Tav and Foden to Bruno and Enzo. So no, I don't mind that. I don't think Ekitike out is a good transfer this week. But if it allows like Tavernier to Bruno, then yes, like I'm fine with it. Yeah. Would I start DCL over Anderson and Malik Chow? Yes, I would. Over Anderson's quite close, but I think I probably would. Captaincy is interesting. 57% of you are on Bruno. I'm surprised it's that high. I am surprised that it's that high. Yeah, my last two benches are probably, honestly, 50 points on my bench in 2 weeks. Congratulations to anyone who's got Dewsbury Hall. That's why I want to bench Saka, just so that I can jinx Saka into getting some points. Because he's going to, the universe is going to think that Saka's on my bench, and then he's going to get like 20 points, and then I'm going to go, haha, he's not actually on my bench. I'm getting him in for Dorgu, and then Dorgu will get 5 minutes off the bench because Carrick lied, probably. Is Rodgers on pens? Probably not if Douglas Luiz starts. If Douglas Luiz doesn't start, then maybe it might be Rodgers. That's basically what's going to happen. I'm just tricking the universe into thinking that Saka's not a good pick. What's my plan when Chelsea double in 26? So I was trying to work out what's better for my team, a Chelsea double or an Arsenal double. Now, you probably think straight away, well, Harry, you've got triple Arsenal and no Chelsea, so the Arsenal double's better for you. But I've got double Everton. And virtually no one has even, like, most people don't have any Everton. So although people will have the Chelsea, I could very easily, with 2 transfers, do Saka to Enzo and Dorgu to Chalobah next week. And then suddenly I've got 4 doublers. So I actually don't think it massively impacts my team either way who doubles. And then like Ekitike to João Pedro, like there's lots of routes to Chelsea for me. So it's not too bad. And as a Chelsea fan, I'd like us to win. So I'll be cheering on a Chelsea win for so many reasons. I mean, I don't expect us to win. We're 3-2 down going away to Arsenal. I mean, the odds don't give us much chance, right? But yeah, so double game weeks have been announced. Let me go and just grab my graphic for it for you. And we can talk about that in just a moment. Yeah, so double game week 26 announced, depending on the outcome of the cup on Tuesday evening. So either Arsenal and Wolves will double if Arsenal go through, which is the most likely, or Chelsea and Everton will double if Chelsea go through. So Chelsea would have Leeds at home, Everton away, and Everton would have Bournemouth at home, Chelsea away. What is worth noting when you're trying to think, oh, will there be rotation for the double, is actually in between the double fixtures, there is an FA Cup weekend where Chelsea I can't remember exactly who they've got, but they have fixtures, Chelsea and Arsenal, where you would expect them to rotate in the cup rather than in the league. So actually someone like João Pedro, someone like a Saka, someone like a Timber, maybe a Calafiori, we're expecting much less rotation in the league games on either side. Sorry. YouTube Studio, where you run your stream through, is just crashed. So if someone could just say in the chat that the stream is working fine. It crashed on me the other day as well, and it all stayed fine. But if someone could just put a thumbs up in the chat or something, that would be great. Van der Ven, we don't know. Yeah, basically. Oh, so Arsenal have got Hull. Oh, Chelsea have got Hull. Arsenal have got I can't remember, but FA Cup fixtures. Maybe I should just get it up and we can clarify. Chelsea, Hull, and Arsenal have. Who do the others have? Who do Everton have? And Wolves have Grimsby. Arsenal have Wigan. And Everton out. Did Everton lose? Everton lost, so Everton are not even in it. So there's not expected to be much rotation in the double if and who it happens for. Yeah. Who would I get for Tavernier? If you can go Tavernier to Enzo, Harry Wilson. If not, I don't think Dewsbury Hall is a bad buy, especially because he has a small chance of a double now. But what I would say is if there's transfers that you aren't 100% certain if you need to make this week, I probably will roll. And I probably would recommend rolling in your teams, just because if we get to Tuesday night and the double goes differently to how you expect or how you want it to, rolling your transfer is probably going to be the best thing for you this week, and having the extra information on Tuesday. What I would also say is please don't make transfers on Saturday or Sunday or Monday. At least wait to that Chelsea-Arsenal game to get confirmation of what the double is going to look like, because it might change what you want to do. Again, if you are certain that Arsenal are going to win, things are more easy to predict. But if in the off chance that Chelsea turn it around and you're buying a defender, maybe someone like a Chalobah, Tarkowski become more important because they have a double. The Chelsea win would change things for a lot of people, whereas the Arsenal win is sort of what we've been planning for and expecting. What to do with Wilson? One free transfer. I'd definitely be keeping Harry Wilson. Yeah. Am I feeling okay? I sound a little croaky. Do I? I do apologise. Last night was my brother's 30th birthday celebration. So I think it's just fair to say that it's a good thing that this deadline was not first thing on Saturday morning and it was a slightly later stream. I appreciate the Premier League delaying it. I appreciate it. By Enzo or by Chalobah. So when you look at the Chelsea data, the attack is much more highly ranked than the defence. So I would be buying Chelsea attackers over Chelsea defenders. Transfer Watkins out or bench him. I would probably be benching Watkins because the other thing is, we'll talk about Chelsea in a moment. I don't think you can reliably buy João Pedro this week, despite the fact that he's had 1 million transfers. Yeah. 1 million transfers in. Start Anderson or O'Reilly. I'd probably play Anderson. Would I do Wirtz to Mbeumo or Kelleher to Sanchez, the safe option? I quite like Wirtz, but I think Mbeumo is probably better. But I think Kelleher to Sanchez is a bigger upgrade. Gordon to Enzo for a hit or Ekitike to João Pedro, Gordon to Mbeumo for a hit next week. I'd probably just do Gordon to Enzo this week. Thinking of benching Wirtz for Krupi Jr., I wouldn't do that. Krupi's minutes playing 60 every week means he's pretty far down the benching ranking every week as a result. Thoughts on Gusto over the next month? He'll play the majority of games. Will he play every single game? And will he play like we saw in the Champions League, there will be times where Reece goes back to right back and he brings on another midfielder. I don't mind the Gusto punt, but I don't think it's worth the risk, to be honest. So let's talk Chelsea. West Ham at home, Wolves away, Leeds at home, Burnley at home. Potential double in there as well. It's just predicting who's going to start. I think all of the key players that you're looking at will play the 3 games after West Ham. I think this is the one game where there is expected to be more rotation than the others. Because Wolves, we've basically got a free midweek after Wolves. I think. Oh no, Leeds is then midweek. Sorry, it goes Wolves at the weekend, Leeds midweek, but then it's the cup game. And then a free midweek if we don't double, and then Burnley. You're probably expecting a full strength lineup in all of the Premier League games. It's just this one. Enzo does normally post, but the game isn't until later. And maybe, I don't know if he's done it under the new manager. Oh. Yeah, I fully expect Enzo to start, but yeah. João Pedro is just the one that I think there is a lot of doubt in. Because I think Delap will start. Now, that doesn't mean that João Pedro can't start with him, and it also doesn't mean that I'm right, is the other thing. But I just think there's too much risk. Like, people saying they're going to do Ekitike to João Pedro, I just wouldn't do that transfer this week. The only reason I'd sell Ekitike is if you need the money. And I don't mind buying João Pedro, but I think it does come with a big risk. Like, the predictors on Twitter had him at a 50% chance of starting. Yeah. So, I just don't think you can buy João Pedro. Listen, if you've already got him, he's quite high up my benching ranking, because if you've got him already, I don't think I'd be taking... I don't think I'd be taking the chance on him being benched, and I would just start him. Sorry, I'm muddling my words. If I owned João Pedro, I would still start him, because I wouldn't want to be wrong in him being benched and him start, because then he's a great pick. But I don't think I'd be buying him now. I think I'd be waiting until next week. But even if Arsenal win, I'm not ruling out that I sell Saka, because if I go to Plan FPL and I get my planner up for this week, So like next week that was just a plan. Like I could do, I genuinely wonder if Timber is a better pick than Saka. So I could do Saka out, Dorgu out, and do Saka to, I could go Mbermo. I have exact money for Saka to Mbermo and Timber in. That would be 25. So that would give me a team that looks like this. Timber, Anderson, like I could even play a back four, probably bench Dewsbury Hall again. I probably would bench Thiago, something like that. Maybe Tarkowski comes out, but I think that looks pretty good. 26, again, Bruno, Mbermo, Rice, Anderson, Dewsbury Hall could start. I would play Ekitike probably over. I mean, trying to find who to bench here is almost impossible. But it does just make my team look a lot better if I do Saka to Mbermo and Timber in for Dorgu. And even when the double rolls around, right? If they get it, I just think it makes my team look better. It makes my team look so much more robust if I do that. It does give myself like a benching headache every week. Like game week 27, he probably comes back in. Maybe I do bench Anderson that week. Defensively, Gabriel, Timber, Tarkowski. Like I've got Richards. Maybe one of them comes out and like Dewsbury Hall goes in at home to United. Game week 28. I can just play double there, probably with Anderson, Bruno, and Mbermo, Rice, potentially Dewsbury Hall, or you just stick Anderson in, Thiago, Ekitike, Haaland. I do think it makes my team look better. Now, it doesn't have to be Mbermo, right? If I get priced out, I just go Rodgers, or I go Enzo. And like, if Chelsea double, then I go Enzo here, and I don't go Timber, and I go Chalobah. And then suddenly I have 4 doublers. So there's quite a lot. I still think that my team is pretty locked in until I sell one of Saka or Ekitike. And there is just something in me that thinks selling Ekitike is a bad idea. The only striker I'd go to, I think, is João Pedro. But then in a few weeks, I'm then going to sell him again. If I'm not buying João Pedro this week and then we don't double, I'm buying João Pedro for 3 game weeks. For 25, 26, 27, which, don't get me wrong, are 3 great games. But then I'd have to be selling him again. And Ekitike is one of the ones that you'd want back again. So I think I'm more likely to sell Saka, even if they double, than I am to sell Ekitike. Now, if Ekitike blanks tonight at home to Newcastle, then maybe I just bin it off anyway. Because again, I could do something like... sorry, I know we're going on a tangent here, but I could do Ekitike to João Pedro, even if he doesn't double. And again, like that leaves me money for Dorgu to... I wouldn't need to go to Timber because I'd have triple Arsenal. But I could go to anyone, right? I could go back to Van Dijk. I could go to Munoz for Brighton, Burnley, Wolves. Like, so yeah, there's lots of routes, but basically until I get to a point where I'm happy to sell one of Saka or Ekitike, I'm just going to keep rolling, basically. That's basically where we're at, I think. O'Reilly, transfer or play. I'd rather sell him than start him, I think. It's going to be an issue every week. Like every week in these questions we'll get, will I play O'Reilly? Will O'Reilly start? And you're just going to be guessing. And I don't like having players like that in my team. I don't think I mean, some of you will say Saka, but I still think Saka will start. All of the next few. On this day last year, I was 37k in the world. Could I reach 10k this year? I mean, it's possible. It looks unlikely at this point. It looks unlikely, but it's not impossible. There will be people who are currently outside the top 500k that will finish inside the top 10k. There will be people who do that. Yeah, like statistically going from 162k to the top 10k is quite a difficult thing to do now, but I'll do my best to get as close to it as possible. But yes, I am aware that the top 10k streak might be over. It was going to have to be over sooner rather than later, right? Or later rather than sooner. It was going to have to break eventually. But we will do our best. Do I bring Fernandes in for Foden or Wilson? I'd rather sell Foden, I think. Yeah, just like O'Reilly, with Foden now, you're going to be questioning every week about whether he starts. Note, the deadline is not 11. There is no early kickoff today, so the deadline is 1:30. Those of you asking in the chat about Fantasy Challenge, we always do Fantasy Challenge once the deadline has passed. So yeah, we'll do it then. Would I start Timber and play a back four with Gabriel? Would I play Wilson? I'd play Timber over Wilson, I think. Why is Saka on my bench? Just because he'll come in for Dorgu. And Saka's not been very good, so he doesn't deserve to be in my team at the moment. But yeah, if Arsenal don't blank, I'll almost certainly sell Saka next week. Thoughts again on Gibbs White, still too expensive. Definitely, especially he might not be on penalties anymore. The fact that he let McAtee take a penalty midweek in the Europa League, but it makes me think that Gibbs White's not on pens anymore, which just makes him an even worse pick at his price. He should have been 6.5 this year. Should you bench Wilson or Ayari? I wouldn't want to bench Wilson. I've seen people making transfers which forces them to bench Wilson, which I don't think is something I'd really want to do. James Hill, 3.9, seems like a fine option. It doesn't really sound like Bournemouth are going to do any business in the transfer window at centre-back anymore, unless Senesi leaves, which then doesn't impact Hill. The only thing I would say on it is he is still 1 or 2 bad performances away from being dropped again. They do have other options in that centre-back position where he is playing. And we've seen it with the likes of Diakite earlier on in the season. So you do run a slight risk with Hill, but he is 3.9. So pick 2, Senesi, Alderete, Richard, Anderson, midfielder. I'd play Anderson, Alderete. I think Alderete Monday night at home to Burnley feels like a one I'd want to start. Martinez, Chalobah, or Sanchez Munoz. Definitely Sanchez Munoz. I wouldn't go with Martinez. Wildcard, Gabriel, Timber, Cash, Hill, Gusto. Gusto's a risk. Find money to do Gusto to Chalobah. I mean, I don't know exactly where you downgrade, but you've only got 0.3 in the bank there. Yeah. It might be in Burmo that I'd sacrifice. I mean, Gusto could be worth it if you don't have the value, but he does come with a bit of a risk. But he almost certainly starts tonight, so... Captaincy is so difficult this week. 57% of people are going Bruno, but that won't be the same case for the game, right? Again, it feels like one of those weeks where if you are chasing rank, a Bruno captain feels like a good opportunity to do it. But again, we said that earlier on in the season, and it doesn't mean it goes right. How many times have we said that, this is a week to go against Haaland if you're chasing, and then it just hasn't worked? Isn't it crazy having a 15 mil player who doesn't get the captain armband against a struggling team? Yeah, I mean, potentially, but he's not been great recently. If I had something else to spend the money on, we'd all be considering selling him based off this. So I find it a difficult one. I don't think he's a bad pick. Do I think Bruno reaches 100% EO? What was his EO last week? What was his EO last week? Still low. 25% owned last week. But his transfers in are crazy high this week again. And then a lot of them are captaining him. I think he might be in and around 100. I would say Bruno 100, Haaland 150 will probably be my prediction. Something like that. So you don't even gain if Bruno does anything, I don't think, really. Like, it might be slightly lower. It might be like 90 versus 170, 160. But 100 versus 150 for Haaland is probably what we're expecting. I don't know. I actually didn't go against Haaland basically ever earlier on in the season, apart from that one Saka week where Haaland still won. It was the Palace away week. It was this one. He still scored 13. And then I triple captained him against West Ham. You lose massively if Haaland goes crazy. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely you do. Yeah. I don't know. I can just see Fulham frustrating United. But then I can also see Spurs frustrating City. United have a free midweek before and after, but Haaland's had it all this time, right? Basically. Let me just put it back on him. I don't know. He's had it all week. Is Chalobah unnecessary on wildcard? No. I'd either go with Chalobah or Sanchez. But I would have one of them. You don't need both, but I would have at least one of them on wildcard. If I was at a high rank, thank you very much, implying no, if I was at a high rank, would I just go safe with Haaland? I'd be more inclined to, yeah. But I don't think like 150k is particularly at a rank where I need to be going against it, because as long as you get it right, then there's the rest of the team to hopefully do the work for you. Why is Saka on the bench? Because he'll get the auto sub for Dorgu. Basically. It will look like this. You just think Bruno has more ways to score points. Yeah, that is also true. Like, we've seen that over the past couple of games in his new role, that he's just got so many routes to not blank, basically. He's just very involved in everything that they do. So as long as he doesn't blank, like, Haaland would have to score twice for it to have a massive impact on us. Now, we said exactly the same thing. I remember saying exactly the same lines this week when Saka scored 12. It was like, oh, Haaland's now got to score twice, and then he did it as well. Did we talk about Chelsea starters? We did. I think Palmer will start. I don't think you can reliably buy João Pedro. He may well start, and if you've got him, I would start him, but I'm not certain he will. Enzo, I expect to start. Chalobah, I expect to start. Reece James, I expect to be on the bench. Bench 1, Thiago, Krupi, Cherki. I'd probably bench Cherki. He did have a high percentage chance of starting, so maybe you bench Krupi. Just because he's going to play 60. And Wolves have been better. Don't talk yourself out of your captaincy choice. To be honest, it was on Bruno at the beginning of the stream, but it has been on Haaland all week. So I don't really feel like I feel that confident on either of them, if I'm honest. 1 free transfer. Would I sell Saka for Bruno, Dorgu to Maguire as well? Sell Saka for Bruno and Dorgu to Maguire. I wouldn't really want to sell Saka before the double is announced. Unless you know you're going to get another Arsenal player and you don't want it to be Saka. What are my thoughts on captaining Enzo as a differential? I don't mind it. I suppose with the chance of Palmer starting and him losing penalties, makes Enzo slightly worse, although I do think Enzo is better as a player when Palmer is in the team. But I think I probably wouldn't, given that it sounds like Palmer's going to start. But if Saka's doing bad, no point keeping him for the double. That's absolutely right. And if he doesn't do anything against Leeds today, that might be my sign to move him before the double. Yeah. To go to Timber. Dylan, Minter replacements, 1.9 in the bank, and you already have Wilson. If you can do Minter to Enzo, feels like the obvious one. Enzo without pens is overrated. So you've also got to remember that Reece James is likely not going to start today, which makes Enzo on set pieces probably. Palmer might take the odd one. It depends if Neto and Esteval, but he might start taking more set pieces if Reece James isn't on the pitch, which is likely. He's slightly worse without pens, but I still think he's a good pick. If I had the money, I'd be buying Enzo this week. Yeah, if you've already got Enzo, then can you get up to Rodgers? Do I think triple Arsenal defence is wise? Raya, Gabriel, Timber. So I think Rice is better than Raya. So I would go Gabriel, Timber, Rice probably. But it does take up a midfield spot. So I don't hate the Raya option now. I don't think he's particularly worth the money though. Saka to Enzo. If Arsenal don't double, I would almost certainly do Saka to Enzo this week. It might be Saka to Palmer. Who knows? But yeah. If Arsenal don't double, I will very likely sell Saka this week. There is new information on Watkins. I saw the tweet yesterday that said that Watkins might be travelling, but we don't, or in the squad because they're playing at home. We don't really know on Watkins, but it doesn't sound like he's definitively ruled out. So he falls into a similar camp to João Pedro to me, that if you don't own him, you can't buy him this week. But if you own him, I probably would start him. Unless you've got a really difficult benching decision, in which case it might be okay to bench him. But I think that's probably my recommendation. Same with João Pedro. If you've got João Pedro and you've got Watkins, I would probably start them, but I don't think you can buy them because I think there's a big chance that neither of them start. Is Sell safe on wildcard after Forest signed Ortega? I think for the foreseeable, yes. It might be that at some point they make the swap, but it feels like too last minute a decision for them to have brought in a replacement for Sells. I expect Sells to keep his place. Yeah, it might be enough to put me off going with Verbruggen instead, because you don't really want to be forced into a goalkeeper transfer. Harry Wilson good this week or move on for a hit? Definitely wouldn't be selling Harry Wilson this week, especially for a hit. I don't really understand why you'd want to sell Harry Wilson as well. United away, Everton at home, City away, Sunderland away, Spurs at home. Like, he's still great. Until the wild card for all of us, he's still a great pick. So yeah. I would be keeping Harry Wilson if you've got who to start from Gabriel, Timber, Mark Gay, Chalobah and Mukiele. I'd probably bench Mark Gay and play a back four. Probably. I don't know who your attackers are, but I wouldn't want to bench Gabriel or Timber or Chalobah or Mukiele. I don't think. People saying bench Timber. I think Arsenal keep a clean sheet today, but it feels like just classic Arsenal 3 o'clock clean sheet. I feel like Arsenal get worse when they're made to play on the telly, or their defence gets worse when they're made to play on the TV. Maybe that's because we have to watch them, and if you've got a defender, then it... yeah, when they're on the TV, they get scared, and the defence is worse. You haven't persuaded me to go Haaland. It could go either way. I just don't... yeah, I don't know on captaincy. You're more confident as an Arsenal fan away clean sheets than at home. Yeah, I think Arsenal probably keep a clean sheet today. And actually, the clean sheet doesn't massively impact my rank either way because I've got double mids, so I get 2 points from it there. Bruno Fernandes or João Pedro for captain. I wouldn't captain João Pedro. There's too much risk that he doesn't start. Bruno captain. So my only thing on Bruno is the fixture. What's the possibility that Fulham play a low block, United struggle to break them down, and Bruno drops a bit deeper to try and get involved in the play, so his goal threat drops? That's my only thing. That's my only thing on it, is does he drop deeper in a game like this because he needs to get on the ball more? Is Rodgers to Cunha for a -4 a good move? Is Rodgers to Cunha for a hit a good move? Definitely not. I wouldn't be selling Rodgers at all, especially for a hit. Sticking with a Bruno captain, but Haaland might be the differential. It depends who you're wanting to compete against. If you want overall rank, Bruno will be the differential. But if you're competing against people on Twitter, Haaland almost certainly will be a differential compared to most people. But yeah, Bruno will still be a captain differential for rank. That's where we're at. Which three to start? Van Heck, Anderson, Richards, Chalobah, Tarkowski. Van Heck, Anderson, Richards, Chalobah, Tarkowski. I mean, Chalobah definitely. Anderson I'd bench. It's whether I'd play Van Heck over Tarkowski or Richards. I'd probably bench Richards, Anderson, and play Van Heck. Chalobah, Tarkowski, it might impact the fact if you've got someone like an Anderson or you've got a Verbruggen. Because you might want to double up on the Brighton defence. Probably not the most sensible thing to do. Who to start, Watkins or Mane? I'd play Watkins and I hope he starts. And if he doesn't, you'll probably get Mane off the bench. Does double game week 26 boost wildcard this week? No, I think double 26 makes wildcard this week worse because you're having to cater to two potential possibilities. Whereas before we thought the chance of Chelsea doubling was really low because they weren't expected to finish in the top 8 of the Champions League. But now that Chelsea can double, it makes it really difficult. Like the wildcard draft I put out on in my complete guide video on Friday had triple Chelsea with 1 Everton and triple Arsenal with 1 Wolves. So it does kind of cover it a little bit, but I still think a wildcard 25 is now probably better because at least then you know what you're planning for. You'll also know what the blank in 31 will look like as well. Because things like Mane, if Wolves don't double, no one's going Mane on wildcard. And if Everton don't double, no one's going Everton. But if suddenly Wolves double, maybe you want to go Mane. If Everton double, then suddenly Dewsbury Hall and Tarkowski become more interesting picks, right? Captaincy, I really haven't decided on yet. You can see the United game like 1-1, maybe 1-0. Yeah. Like I find that game really difficult to call. What's my plan if it's leaked that Saka's benched? I mean, I have no reason to think that Saka would be benched because didn't Madueke start in the Champions League? Yeah, I mean, Madueke played 90 midweek and Saka played none. So I've no reason to think that Saka won't start, and I have no idea who would play over Saka in that position. But if Saka got benched, I'd sell him probably to Mbeumo, as I said, and or Rodgers or Enzo, and that leaves me money for Timber in defence if Arsenal get the double. But yeah, I don't think that's the case. I can't see a world where Saka won't start. Yeah, I mean, I could even just let Dewsbury Hall play. I don't think that's the end of the world. that was part of the reason for going for someone like a Dewsbury Hall, that if anything happened, I could just have the cover of someone like a Dewsbury Hall, a Richards, or an Anderson on the bench. Thoughts on Vert? I still think he's a fine hold. I think the performance against Bournemouth for Liverpool wasn't great, but they're back to playing a 4-2-3-1, it looks like. And yeah, I think Verts is a fine hold. Do I think Mbermo, Rodgers, Enzo are probably better than Verts? Yes, but is there much in it? No, not really. Not really. Start Antoine Stack or Anderson. I'd play Stack. He feels very likely to get DEFCON. I don't expect a Fulham clean sheet, so I'd probably go Stack. Especially, I mean, if you've got Bruno, then... I mean, it might depend if you're captaining Bruno, but I'd probably go Stack. Why wouldn't I replace Saka with Enzo? Yeah, maybe Saka to Enzo. Enzo, Rodgers, and Mbermo are all good picks. If I have the money for Mbermo, do I think Mbermo is better than Enzo? Probably. Do I think he's worth the money over him? Probably not. Why is Dorgu my first sub? I'm planning to sell him before the deadline. No, I mean, it doesn't technically make a difference where I leave Dorgu, because it will just skip him. Like, if one of my players doesn't start, it will just skip Dorgu, presuming he plays no minutes. So he's going to end up in my starting 11, but I don't want to answer the questions on it for the next hour or so. So Tarkowski versus Cash, who to start? Cash at home to Brentford. I mean, if you've got Thiago, maybe you don't want to play Cash, but I think I'd play Cash over Tarkowski. Would I start O'Reilly over Forrest Anderson? No, probably not. I don't think so. Cow Mushrooms. If I had the money, would I do Dorgu to Chalobah or another defender with one transfer? Yes. If I had money for Dorgu to Chalobah, I probably would be doing it this week. Yeah. Start Semenyo or Anderson. If you've got Semenyo, 100% start him. You're in a very lucky position if you have Semenyo. Yeah, he's a great option this week and going forward. The only time I think that Semenyo will start to become an issue is when the round of 16 of the Champions League starts and Doku is back. At that point, Semenyo might become a concern. But until then, he feels pretty nailed and he's playing very well for them. So Semenyo's a great pick. Frederick, no worries. Pickford, Timber, Gabriel, Alderete, Garner, Rice, Rodgers, 1.1 and 3 free transfers. Palmer, Bruno G. I'd probably sell Bruno G. You can do Bruno G to Enzo. I probably would do that. I think Bruno G will probably start, but I don't think he's a great pick anymore. He was massively overperforming his data anyway, and there are just better mids like Rodgers, Enzo at very similar prices to him now. I think it's a good opportunity with the slight doubt over him with the fixture to jump off Bruno G if you can. Start Chalobah or Munoz. I'd want both of them, in all honesty. If I had to pick one, I'd start Chalobah, but there's no world where you'd really want to be benching Munoz. I spoke about this in the complete guide, that I do wonder about Munoz as a bit of a differential over Chalobah, because Chalobah in the next 4, if he keeps 2 clean sheets, could you see Palace keeping clean sheets at home to Burnley, at home to Wolves, and Munoz getting an attack in return? It is possible that Munoz outscores Chalobah over the next 4. Is it likely? No, but again, it's something to think about as a bit of a differential if you've got if you're chasing rank or you don't want to go Chalobah. Just have a look at Munoz because his long-term fixtures are better. The only issue with Munoz is if City win, he will blank in 31. If you wildcard, do you get your 1 free transfer? So the way it works if you wildcard is effectively the week that you wildcard, you don't get that week's transfer. But if you have 4 going into the week, you'll still have 4 the other side, but you won't have 5. Is the league more important to Chelsea than the cup? Could João Pedro start? Absolutely. I'm not saying that João Pedro is 100% not going to start. I just think it's too risky to buy him. I just agree with that comment that I don't think João Pedro will start both West Ham and Arsenal. Again, I could be wrong. I could be wrong on it, but I just think there's enough risk to not buy João Pedro. And he can wait a week, right? Especially because most of you are selling Ekitike in order to buy him. And I really don't think that's a worthwhile transfer. Thank you, Varon, for the reminder. We are going to put it in subscriber only mode. You literally will have had to subscribe for 1 second in order to start using the chat. So if you haven't subscribed, please could you do so? And whilst you're there, even if you've already subscribed, if you could drop a like on the stream, we are almost at 1,000. So if you could just like and subscribe, that would be fantastic. Thank you very much. We are 250 likes away from 1,000. Would I start Cherky or Gordon? I'd sell Gordon, to be honest, but I'd play Cherky over Gordon. I wouldn't want Gordon at all. Bowen versus Cunha to start. Definitely Cunha. If you're one of those people who didn't sell Cunha over the past couple of weeks and have now walked into the Dorgu injury still with him, it feels like a pretty good place to be in. You'll buy Rolfs. What do I think? I don't think I'd be buying a Sunderland defender or goalkeeper now. The reason being is their fixtures are not great after this week. I think it's an opportunity this week with the fixture that he's got. But from next week, Arsenal away, Liverpool at home, Fulham at home, Bournemouth away, Leeds away. I don't think the fixtures are good enough. I don't think I'd be paying that now for Rolfs if you haven't bought him already. Now, if you've got value tied up in him, that's fine. But buying Rolfs for 5 million when he's got Arsenal, Liverpool, Bournemouth away in the next 5, I don't think I'd want to be doing that, really. Despite how good the fixture might look this week. Would Evanilson be a good replacement for Thiago for this weekend? Yeah, if I was buying a forward this week, it would almost certainly be Evanilson. The only thing I would say, again, on Thiago is if you're selling him, once game week 27 comes around, Brighton at home, Bournemouth away, Brighton home, Burnley away, Bournemouth away, Wolves at home, Leeds away, you're probably going to want Thiago back. So if you are selling Thiago, you will probably want a route back to him. Now, it could be that you sell Thiago to Evanilson and then in a couple of weeks you go Ekitike back to Thiago, in my example, but yeah. If Bruno blanks, watching Haaland in the last game will be painful. Yeah, but if Bruno does well and you've got Haaland captain, you're going to be nervous, right? Appreciate how considerate you are on the O and E and caps in the benching ranking. Just to make it extra clear about the difference between the two, so no one gets confused. Thiago's going to drop in price over the next 3. If he doesn't score, yeah. But if he was to score against Villa, then he'll probably hold his price until the better fixtures again. So all it takes is 1 goal and people will stop selling him because they'll suddenly see the fixtures coming up and be like, I'll probably keep him. Would I bench Bowen or Thiago? I probably would bench Bowen and play Thiago. Probably. You picked Wilson for 5.2. Should I get Enzo, and Burmo, Bruno, Rodgers and Saka? I wouldn't sell Wilson, especially if you got him that cheap, no. Because again, in a couple of weeks, you'll probably want them back. It's the same with something like an Anderson or people who've got Jimenez. Because I don't even think this run of fixtures is bad at all. And it gets very good again from like 27, 28. I wonder if he's one of the best captaincy options in 31 in the blank. So let's say Arsenal win, right? So Arsenal blank and City blank. So let's say these fixtures aren't there. Who's the best captain in 31? Thiago away at Leeds. Harry Wilson at home to Burnley. It could be Bruno at home away to Bournemouth. Friday night captain though. Like, who are you captaining this week? If it's not like Harry Wilson will be one of the top options. Bruno, it probably will be Bruno for the majority, but Harry Wilson will be one to consider. You're 0.1 short of doing Minter to Rodgers. Yeah, then I suppose you keep him. I don't see loads of options between the Enzo Rogers price range that you can go with. Who do Villa have that you could captain Rogers? Home to West Ham, yeah, I suppose. Yeah. I'm not sure I'd ever feel confident enough to actually captain Rogers though. But if Watkins was nailed, then yeah. Keane or Anderson? So people with Michael Keane in their team, it's a bit of a difficult call this week because it doesn't sound like Branthwaite is definitely gonna start. Doesn't sound like he's fully ready yet, which means Michael Keane may well start. But do you take the sort of 3-4 pointer that you're probably going to get from Anderson, or do you chance it on Michael Keane? I'd probably take the chance on Keane, I think. Would I do Bruno G to Enzo to bench Cash or Wilson or roll? Like, this is one of the examples. Bruno G to Enzo to bench Cash or Wilson. I probably would do it and I'd bench Cash. I think, especially if you're playing a back four, I wouldn't mind benching Cash, especially if you've got Thiago. Would I start Elliot Anderson or Raul Jimenez? Probably Anderson. Probably. I think Anderson's an interesting one. Anyone who watched the complete guide video and saw my graph that I made on Elliot Anderson, that's what I'm doing with my time now, it seems, making graphs on my midfielders taking set pieces. But his set piece numbers have definitely gone up, and that's a lot because they've changed their wingers and Hutchinson isn't starting anymore. So he was taking a lot of set pieces and now he's not on the pitch with like Dominguez and Hudson-Odoi starting. Anderson is taking a lot of them. Like, I'd go Anderson over Garner now, yeah. But Dewsbury Hall would also be a consideration because Garner's loses set pieces now that Dewsbury Hall's back. One of the reasons Garner was so good is, yes, his DEFCON numbers are great, but he was taking a lot of set pieces whilst there was no Ndai and there was no Dewsbury Hall. And now that both of them are back, Garner takes much less set piece responsibility. So I would probably go Anderson over Garner. But I would consider Dewsbury Hall over both of them on wildcard. Would I bench Thiago to start Mukiele, Alderete, Gabriel, Timber, Chalobah in a 5-4-1? I probably would play Thiago over Alderete instead of a double Sunderland defence, given you've also got Mukiele in there, I think. People saying that there's stuff on... If anyone sees anything on Twitter about the lineup, then please do tag me in it. And I will, of course, take a look. Let me get my mentions up. Nothing yet. Did Enzo post that? Not yet either. A lot of questions about DCL this week. I think it's quite a difficult one, especially if you've got like a double Arsenal defence that I don't mind playing Calvert-Lewin, but it does feel a little bit counterintuitive depending on what you've got in your team. I mean, he's going to play 90. So he's on pens if they were to get one. So I don't think he's ever a bad pick. If I had Calvert-Lewin, let's use this as an example. If I had Calvert-Lewin in my team over, let's just say over Haaland, right? I would bench Calvert-Lewin with this lineup. I would be playing Dewsbury Hall, I think, over Calvert-Lewin. I'd play Thiago over him. I'd play Ekitike. I'd play Anderson. So are you the same guy as a very young FPL Tips? That was me back when it all started. Van Dijk or O'Reilly to Chalobah or Munoz. Van Dijk or O'Reilly to Chalobah or Munoz. I'd sell O'Reilly. I'd keep Van Dijk. I think the Liverpool fixtures are actually quite good from Game Week 26 onwards. He could be one that I look to buy as well. I could buy him back in place of Dorgu if I free up the money. And I probably would go Chalobah, but I would consider Munoz as a bit of a differential. I think Bruno Guimaraes will start today, yeah. Today? Yeah, it is today. You've got 1 free transfer and 1.8 in the bank. Who to prioritise and which defender's best for your team? You have Gordon with Bruno Fernandes, Enzo. So Gordon, you've got Bruno Fernandes, you've got Wilson, you've got Enzo and Saka. I mean, I probably would do Gordon to Rodgers or Mbermo. Gabriel, Alderete, and then just play one of Anderson or Keane and deal with your defence next week. Rosso is probably what I would do. Would I bench boost this with Kelleher, Munoz, Alderete, and Krupi? Yes, unless you haven't wildcarded. If you've wildcarded and that's your bench, then yes, I definitely would. It's one of those that the reason I'd be more inclined to play my bench boost if you've already wildcarded versus if you're not is when game week 33, 34 rolls around. If you are trying to fix the blank, fix the double with only transfers plus trying to fix a bench boost team, you could very easily run out of transfers very quickly. And you might only need one or two things for it to go wrong for your bench boost to be worse off in those weeks than it is now. So in those situations, I would just play your bench boost now. But if you still have your wild card where you can set your bench boost up for a double, then I'd probably hold it. Alderete or Wilson to start. I'd probably start Wilson, probably, particularly because Xhaka's out. Would I start Gusto, Calafiori, or Branthwaite? Gusto. I'd start Gusto because he should start. He's expected to start at right back. I would also want to play Calafiori, but I would play Gusto. At 8.5k, Coward's captain Haaland over Bruno. No, because I think they're pretty close. We've got 50 minutes to the deadline and I need to decide on my captain. But yeah. I don't think you're a coward at all. I think they're both very good options this week. Start Aronson versus Arsenal on Mane. I'd start Mane. Aronson's been really good. I'm interested for how long you've had him, Tom. And actually, are you a Leeds fan or have you bought him? Because if you've bought him recently, I think that's a really good transfer. I think he's been very impressive. Finally turning a corner in that Leeds team. Thoughts on Enzo or João Pedro? So Enzo, I think, will start, and João Pedro, I think, won't start. That is a prediction. I do not know, and I may be wrong. I may be wrong, but I wouldn't be buying João Pedro now. Same or Rodgers? Samuel Rodgers, Chalobah to Munoz, got Sanchez. I would have Chalobah over Munoz on wildcard, I think. Just because of the potential double, I think. Why did you move Wilson to the top of the benching rankings against United? Because I don't think it's completely straightforward, this game for United. And Wilson just finds a way of scoring and he's so involved for them. Why am I not doing Tarkowski to Chalobah? Because I just think Tarkowski's still a pretty good pick. Like 9-2, 4-8, 4. Brighton away, Fulham away, Bournemouth at home, United at home. They also have Burnley at home. And there's a chance that Everton will double in game week 26. And although it means that Chelsea would also double and I'd want Chalobah, but I'd also want Tarkowski. So selling Tarkowski, if they then were to double, would feel pretty over management-y, I think. So I might end up selling Tarkowski at some point, but I've got to wait and see if they double first, I think. How was Australia? Did I get to an Aussie League or an AFL game? I didn't get to either of those, but Australia was fantastic. Thank you. Bench one, Thiago, Wilson, or Chalobah. I'd bench Thiago, I think. I'd play Wilson over Thiago just about, and I'd play Chalobah. Dubravka, Anderson, Wilson, Dorgu on the bench. -4 of Dorgu to someone and bench boost. Only if you've played your wildcard. If you haven't wildcarded, then no. No. Captaincy, I haven't decided on. I haven't decided on yet. We'll look at that in a bit. Once we get closer to the deadline. I haven't decided. Watkins starting. If you've got Watkins, I would start him, but I wouldn't be buying him. It feels, again, just same like João Pedro feels, that if you've got them, then I'd start them. But I think there's a big enough risk that they don't start. So you can't really buy them, but if you've got them, I would start them. Will Foden or Cherky play? not sure who to take out. I'd rather sell Foden for a couple of reasons. His chance of starting is lower, and he's more expensive. And his returns have been worse. So if you're looking to buy a midfielder, I'd rather sell Foden than Cherki, because Cherki's cheaper, his returns have been better, and he feels more likely to start. Like, the prediction percentages on Twitter had Cherki at 88%, but Foden was only 50, I think. So yeah, I just think for a number of reasons, I'd rather Cherki than Foden. Both of them feel risky. I think that 88% might feel slightly too high, but yeah, I mean, Foden to Semenyo is an interesting transfer. I think Semenyo is definitely better. Moving sideways between two players from the same team never feels that great, but I think Semenyo is definitely a better pick. I think if I was selling Foden, though, it would be to go for someone not at City. Can I explain why I rate Evanilson higher than Krupi? Hasn't Evanilson only been lucky with defender errors in the last few games? He has, but minutes are king in FPL. And although Krupi's returns have been good, he's playing 60 on average pretty much every single game. And yes, he's scoring goals when he's on the pitch, but it's something like 30% of all Premier League goals are scored in the last 20 minutes. So if you're buying a player who's not on the pitch, the chances of them getting that involvement is just lower. So that's why I like Evanilson. Krupi Jr. is a better option if he's an 8th attacker. If he's not going to use him every week, then I'd rather you go Krupi. But if you're going to play them every week, I think you're better off going with Evanilson. I know recent form, Evanilson has been quite lucky, but yeah. Why not Dorgu to Alderete rather than play Richards? So I think that's an upgrade, but I don't think it's an upgrade that's worth the transfer, because from next week, I don't think the Sunderland fixtures are actually very good. And they're without Xhaka, so I don't think a clean sheet is even locked in anyway. So I think the extra information that we'll get next week on how Arsenal perform again and the double confirmation for whether it's Arsenal or whether it's Chelsea is more important than doing like Dorgu to Alderete this week. I could definitely use a transfer to upgrade my defence and sell Dorgu. And Alderete or Maguire would probably be the ones I'd go with. I'd actually probably buy Maguire over Alderete. But I just don't think it's worth a transfer. I think that's probably where I'm at with it. Would I rather them than Richards? 100%. But it's also the value of the transfer when I've only got one. Play Tarkowski or Nunez? Probably Nunez. Yeah. Welbeck or Rodgers or Anderson? I'd probably bench Welbeck and play Rodgers and Anderson. Is your plan to triple captain in 26 and bench boost in 33? I haven't decided if I'm going to triple captain in 26 or not yet. Because it's possible that City will double in 37. Because if City get to the cup final, they'll have to double, but it won't be in 26. And the other weeks that it could be are like 36, 37, where they've got Brentford at home, Bournemouth away. So Haaland could have a double of Brentford at home, Palace at home. Is that better than Gabriel? Like, probably. So if City reach the cup, I might be more inclined to say, if they reach the cup final, I might be more inclined to hold it and see where the double falls for City. No Chelsea players. I know it doesn't feel great. I've just got to hope for some rotation, but yeah. Like, if Enzo scores but João Pedro's benched, that kind of evens out enough with the amount of ownership that they've got. So I've just got to hope that one of them doesn't start, just to offset the other one doing well. What was the early championship fixture today? Was it Leicester? Yeah. Oh, wow. They've already had a red card. Xhaka out. Yeah, Xhaka's out for a couple of weeks. Thoughts on Rice versus Semenyo in? So I'd want to go Semenyo, but I think Rice is the sensible option with Arsenal likely to double, that you'll probably want him. Am I not scared of other teams might outperform yours this week? Absolutely. I mean, they've outperformed my team for the past 3 weeks running, and they may well do it again. But with only one transfer, there's not much I can really do, and taking a hit is not going to help that situation either. So, yeah, just got to hope that the likes of Rodgers, Enzo, and Burmo don't completely outscore like Ekitike. And captaincy is really big, right? Even if you get the other decisions wrong, if you pick the right captain out of Bruno and Haaland, there's quite a split. So even if you fall on the right side of that and the wrong side of other things, captaincy is so important in this game. So, but yes. Would I rather a team that looked better than mine this week? I definitely would. There was such a disparity of opinions on my team this week, which I found quite interesting. So many people think my team is so bad that I have to wildcard it. But I do think that's undervaluing how useful a wildcard is when we get doubles and blanks. Like, if you get to game week 32 and you don't have a wildcard and there's blank 34, there's double 33, there's another double and maybe a third double, doing all of that plus the blank in 31 with just a free hit is really difficult. And I don't really want to put myself in that position just for a wildcard now to buy a few players who are slightly better than the ones I've got now. Is basically, I just think the wildcard for the doubles and blanks is so important and so valuable, despite the fact that I don't love my team now. Would I transfer Chalobah in and O'Reilly out? Yeah, if you've got money for O'Reilly to Chalobah, I would definitely do that transfer, yeah. Konza, Tarkowski, or Mateus Nunes to start. I probably would start Mateus Nunes if you've got him. The clean sheet odds are not bad. His attacking threat has looked pretty good. Am I locked on Verbruggen over Dubravka? I'm not, but I just think it makes sense to play Verbruggen. When you look at XGC this season, I mean, Brighton have not been great. I don't know. I feel like it's closer than maybe I think. The issue with Verbruggen is he just doesn't ever get saves or anything. So if he does concede, it's literally a 2-pointer every week. But he is at home to Everton. And Sunderland have looked great, right? Sunderland are much better at home. If Burnley were at home, then I think I would consider it more. Who is better in place of Foden, Rodgers or Mbeumo? You have Enzo. I probably would go Mbeumo out of the two. I think, over Rodgers. I think it's really close, though. There's not much in it. Mane over Wilson for Bournemouth home. No, I'd almost certainly play Harry Wilson out of those. Evanilson or João Pedro. I have to say Evanilson because I'm not predicting João Pedro to start. He might do, but I would go Evanilson if I had to pick one this week, just based purely off that. Last 6 weeks, I mean, Brighton have conceded the fourth most XGC over the past 4. Who have they played? Well, they played City, to be fair, and Arsenal, both away. Where they conceded 2.5 and 3. Wow. I mean, they conceded 2 XG to West Ham. Was there a penalty in that game? Was that a game Paqueta scored a pen? Is that why it's so high? I mean, it doesn't bode particularly well, does it? Any chance of any early team news? No, but I think the lineup is quite easy to predict. Ben White and Lewis Skelly scored. Calafiori started in the Champions League, so I would say he's not fully nailed. But he did come off. But then he has just come back from injury. Hincape on the bench. I think it will be Raya, Gabriel, Saliba, Timber, one of Calafiori or Hincape. Sounds like it might be Rice, Zubimendi. Rice, Zubimendi, Odegaard, Trossard, Saka, and then one of Havertz, Jesus. Probably. Don't think it will be Gyökeres. I don't think it will be Gyökeres. I think because Zubamendi also didn't start, it will probably be Zubamendi, Rice, and then another, and then Odegaard. And then if Havertz plays, he'll probably play up front. Senesi or Richards or Anderson to start. Senesi, Richards, Anderson. I'd play Senesi out of them, yeah. Yeah, I think the Arsenal team is pretty self-explanatory apart from who plays up front and who plays left back, but I don't think they are particularly relevant for FPL. You think Havertz will start over Jesus? I think it'll be one of them. I mean, there's a chance that he plays Havertz and another one, and they play with no Zubamendi and they play Rice deeper. It's possible. No way Odegaard starts. But he has to. Like, he's not going to play with Havertz. Maybe he could play, but Havertz is the only number 10 would feel a bit weird. I feel like Odegaard has to start. Because he won't want Havertz in a number 10 on his own, will he? Because he didn't do that against... Like, midweek, he played Havertz, but he played Eze in the number 10. I don't think he'll want Havertz just in front of Zubamendi and Rice. I don't think that works very well, but what do I know? Palmer starts, probably, but I think he probably only plays 60. Hanen, apologies. Would I bench Thiago or Bowen? I'd play Thiago over Bowen, I think, yeah. Play Thiago over Bowen. Vice, would I start Anderson or Forrest or Jimenez? I probably would play Anderson. Probably would play Anderson. Would I start Szoboszlai, Bowen, or Senesi? Szoboszlai, Bowen, or Senesi? I'd play Szoboszlai at home to Newcastle. I don't think Szoboszlai will play right back. I don't think. Richards or Maguire? Who to start replacing Dorgu? Probably Maguire. I'd buy Maguire over Richards, I think, now. If Palmer starts, Enzo still play as the number 10. They'll play as dual number 10s, kind of like we saw under Maresca. So, yeah. It's not that much. The only negative impact it has on Enzo is no pens when Palmer's on the pitch. It doesn't really impact him much outside of that, I don't think. Tarkowski over Senesi or Mukiele? No, I'd play Senesi and Mukiele over Tarkowski this week. Yeah. So Bosley will play right back, just like at St. James's Park against Gordon. I mean, I just don't think that's a particularly good idea for them in the centre of the park when they've got Bruno G, Joe Linton, and like Tonali. I suppose my question with Bruno versus Haaland is, what is the chance that Haaland scores twice? Because if Haaland's not going to score twice, then I feel like he's potentially worth taking on. I don't know. As a Chelsea fan, 0 Chelsea in my team is concerning. Oh, it absolutely is. Oh, how ruled out Joe Linton. Okay, fair. Yeah, no Chelsea is probably the biggest concern in my team. Yeah, I'm going to be rolling my transfer, though. I think. Unless something happens between now and the deadline, like Saka hasn't travelled or something. But, yeah. I plan on rolling. Dubravka over Verbruggen if you have and die. Quite possibly. I don't know my percentage predicted points or green arrow. Gordon or Foden out for Bruno. I'd sell Gordon in a heartbeat. Yeah, I'd sell Gordon to Bruno straight away. I think. Who to buy for Malik Chaël? Your budget is 5.4. I mean, that isn't loads, to be honest. It's not loads at the moment. Malik Chaël to... I'd probably come down and take some money, right? I'd go Senesi, I'd go Anderson, I'd go Maguire, I'd go someone like that. Why don't I move Anderson for Enzo? I don't have the money. I got one transfer and 0.5 in the bank. So why are we certain Enzo starts? Yeah, Oscar and Ross were asking me this morning, why is everyone so confident that Enzo starts? He's a minutes monster. He just plays pretty much every game. He did have a rest a couple of games ago in the Cup. And we just don't really have that many other midfielders that can play the role and the minutes that he does. If he doesn't start, he's got to play Andre Santos and Palmer. So he's already booking in 2 subs he knows he has to make. Whereas if he starts Enzo, he can just do Palmer off for Andre Santos. I don't think he'll want to go into this game with no Enzo, no Reece James, because I'm almost certain Reece doesn't start. Maybe he wants to he takes a bigger gamble in this game than I expect him to, but I would be surprised if Enzo doesn't start. I mean, it's all possible, right? We don't really know what Rosenior likes to do in this fixture congestion when his players have played a lot of minutes, because all these players have played, pretty much all of them have played Pathos. They then played Palace. They then played Napoli. And the majority of them are then going to play Arsenal. We haven't really seen how Rosenior deals with these moments, right? We kind of knew if this was Enzo Maresca, we would be expecting a lot of Chelsea rotation. I think it would be the fixture that we'd all be looking at. He often rotates in this when it gets too much, and we'll probably see the same thing again. But we don't really know how Rosenior is going to deal with a situation like this. So it's more difficult to predict than normal. But then as TGH is saying, a lot of it is up to what the medical staff say. And if the medical staff say that Enzo is fine to play, he probably will start. But the medical staff might say he's all right to play unless you need him for Arsenal. But I think Enzo plays. I wouldn't have much concern over that. João Pedro is the one that I predict wouldn't, but it could be the other way around. But it could be both of them. And he could say, right, let's try and get this game won after an hour, and then I can take you off and then rest you for Arsenal midweek. And the other thing that we don't know how much he's going to prioritize one competition over the other. He might be told that finishing in the top 5 of the Prem is the most important thing. You need to prioritize that. But he might also then say, well, we've got a chance to get to a cup final. So we don't know. There's a lot of unknowns. We're trying to predict the Chelsea team today, unfortunately. If you've got any of them, apart from Reece James, I probably would start them. I'm fine to buy Enzo. I don't think I'd buy João Pedro. And I don't think I'd buy Palmer. I just think he's too expensive. Chris, wildcard to Pickford, Darlow. So one of the reasons on wildcard I would go Dubravka is then he's likely to double in 33, because in 34 they play City, so he's likely to get a double, which is why Dubravka is quite useful. So I would go Dubravka over Darlow. I don't think I'd go Pickford. I would probably go Sanchez, Gabriel, Chalobah, Senesi, Cash, Maguire, Bruno, Enzo, and Burmo, Rice. I suppose you can't because you're going João Pedro. So Pickford's all right. I'm not sure he's worth the money, but I would go Dubravka over Darlow. And Barry's an interesting one. I'm still not certain he's worth it. Feels like a bit late on that. Right. A few super chats that I have missed. Who to buy? Wilson, Rogers, bench, Wilson, buy Evanilson for Guiu. No, I would just start Wilson, Rogers and just not buy Evanilson. You have Gabriella, Mukiele, play Timber, Hill or Munoz. I'd bench Hill happily, and I'd probably play Timber and Munoz. Timber over Munoz, though. Is Wilson to Enzo worth a hit? No. Is Anderson to Enzo worth a hit? Also, no. Semenyo or Mbuemo, Chalobah and Verbruggen. I'd go Mbuemo over Semenyo, and I'd go Sanchez, Senesi, probably. No, I wouldn't. I'd go Chalobah over Bruggen. Hincapié to Maguire or Gordon to Gibbs-White. I wouldn't do Gordon to Gibbs-White because I don't like Gibbs-White, but I would sell Gordon. I'd sell Gordon. Definitely. Not to Gibbs-White, though. Gibbs-White's not worth the money. Start Anderson or Thiago. Sense a huge return for Anderson this week. I'd be surprised if you ever get a huge return out of him, but I probably would play him over Thiago. If I was going to bench an attacker for Dewsbury Hall this week, I would be benching Thiago, I think. Let's see if there's anything on Twitter which is worth me seeing or worth me looking at. Then we need to talk about captaincy. We are 25 minutes to go before the deadline. And then, and then we will decide. Right. So, I mean, Haaland's not looked particularly at it. Do we think Pep has found the solution? Do we think Pep's found the solution? For those asking why Haaland over Bruno, that's what we're going to do now. It was on Haaland and then it was on Bruno. Now it's back to Haaland. Bruno's routes to points are so good. He has everything going for him. He has everything. Wasn't he involved? Like his data. Let's look at player stats, right? So he came back against Burnley. So we want the last 3 game weeks. Right. We want outfield players. Let's start with goal threat, right? All matches, last game week range. So what week was that? Let's do a bit of digging. Game week 21 to game week 24. So that is cool. Haaland will start, yeah. Haaland will not be a differential. The game will update and everyone will say, oh, Haaland's ownership's higher than I thought. It happens every time people go against Haaland. They go, oh, actually the majority of the game still captain Haaland. Is Enzo playing 70 plus? I think probably. So, Haaland, 10 shots. Let's compare them, right? Hang on. And then where's Fernandes? Compare. Game week range from 21 to 24. Sorry. Bear with me. And 21 to 24. Compare. So expected XG 1.66. Bruno's XG is low, but you've got to remember he did have an offside goal ruled out, but Haaland didn't start both games. His XA is higher, his XGI is higher, but Haaland didn't start both. Involvement higher. I mean, he hasn't scored. That's the only thing with Bruno, is his goal threat is a little bit low. Like, he had 0.37. I mean, he did score an offside goal, but against Burnley, again, he was playing deep. It's really difficult to know what to expect with Bruno. Would I start João Pedro over Tarkowski? I think I would. I think I would still take that risk that João Pedro starts, probably. Let's end the poll and let's go again. I'm going to restart the poll and see what people say. Captaincy ranking. Bruno, Haaland, other. just feel like Fulham are on quite a good run. Conceded twice to Burnley, clean sheet there, once to Palace, twice to Liverpool, once to Chelsea, once to Brighton, twice to Palace. I mean, they did ship 5 goals to City, but that's not replicable. I mean, Spurs just look awful at the moment. It's a home fixture for United. Well, doesn't that just mean that Fulham have an excuse to not do much attacking? Any Liverpool news? No, there's no news on anything yet. But as I said, apart from the game this evening, the Liverpool game, I don't really think there's that much that we're going to get in terms of news. Chelsea are not until 5:30. If Chelsea were at 3, then maybe, but just feels like, I don't know. I think Palmer will play 60. Ekitike should start, yeah. Spurs also won't attack. No, but they are at home. So there is a little bit more onus on them to do something, I think, compared to maybe Fulham. Let's get some of that, team expected data up. Yeah, I'll look at the Tottenham XGC. So, I mean, they're pretty similar, right? Spurs and Fulham. To be honest, they're pretty similar. All home matches, which is what Spurs are, 12.98. All away matches, Fulham, slightly worse, 17.23. It's just difficult because there's so many unknowns with it, because we don't know if Van der Ven's available. We don't know if... we don't really have enough information on United. Would I start Wilson over Rice? No, I'd play Rice over Wilson, I think. I mean, he has just been really good, right? But the goal threat is what concerns me. But he did get a 10-pointer against City with just 1 assist and DEFCON. So that's what also I like. That's what also I like about Bruno. That ability to just get a 7-pointer or a 10-pointer. He just got a 10-pointer because he got an assist. 2 bonus, and 14 DEFCON. I don't think the Pedro Porro injury particularly impacts anything. If anything, I think it makes them better defensively. They might also play a back 5, which I suppose Fulham could as well, right? A Haaland goal is 9. Yes, probably. Not always. But yes. Couple of them there. He got an 8-pointer against Brentford. This makes incredible viewing. I'm sure it does. I'm playing Dorgu so that I get Saka's auto sub off the bench. Looking for the tables is better. Fulham is better than Spurs, but they finished fourth in the Champions League. Midweek games can overburn teams, but that applies to City too. United responded well with Carrick. Yeah, I mean, the atmosphere will be good at Old Trafford. The atmosphere won't be good for Spurs, to be fair. They're all over the place, even though they've done well in the Champions League. Ekitike start? I think he probably does, yeah. O'Reilly to Chalobah or Bruno G to Mbeumo. O'Reilly to Chalobah or Bruno G to Mbeumo. The Bruno G move is a bigger upgrade, I'd say. Always favour the attacking transfer, I think. Would I start Wilson over Senesi? Yes. Spurs terrible at home? Yeah, that is also true. Bench Virgil van Dijk or Tarkowski. I'd play Van Dijk over Tarkowski, I think. Take a -4 on Bruno or keep Cherky. I'd do Cherky to Bruno for a hit, probably. If it's your only way to get it done, probably. Bench 1, Thiago, Bowen, Mukiele. Thiago, Bowen, Mukiele, bench 1, probably Bowen. Am I selling Ekitike? If he or Saka blank this week, they could both end up going. Bruno Fernandes can get bonus without scoring. Yep. Haaland has to score. Yep, but he probably will score. I don't know. Start DCL, Dewsbury Hall, or Anderson. I'd probably play Dewsbury Hall over Anderson. Unless you've got Bruggen in goal, then maybe not, but... Any team leaks knocking about? No, nothing. Nothing anywhere. I just don't love Haaland's form as well. That's the only other thing. I don't think he's looked particularly good. Nick, let me take a look. Your current 11, Sanchez, Gabriel, Timber, Chalobah, Bruno Fernandes, and Mbeumo, Enzo, Rice, Haaland, Thiago, Bowen. Should I change anyone for Mukiele or Wilson? No, but if you're benching Mukiele and Wilson, I'd bench Bowen, actually. I'd bench Bowen for Wilson or Mukiele, I think. Reece James predicted not to start. No, it's Dr. Tottenham. That's true. That's true. If I had 2 free transfers, would I have sold Ekitike? Probably not yet, to be honest, though. Like, I still think Ekitike is a fine pick. I think I'm more likely to sell Saka. Because I also want a midfield spot, which I'd get there. Plan FPL James is captaining Haaland. He's a pessimistic Spurs fan, though. And he knows it. Start Wilson or Thiago. He also does know a lot about it, but he will be fearing the worst as a Spurs fan, I think. Start Wilson or Thiago. I'd play Wilson over Thiago, I think. I don't know. Bruno's got it at the moment, but... I don't know. I normally am honest, and I am pretty boring with these things, so I would leave it on Haaland, but just a combination of a few things that... I'm doubting it now. Gayu or Senesi? Probably Senesi. Haaland has been bad, yeah, but it doesn't take very much for him to start being good again. You're not factoring that Haaland could come off early. I think there's a very, very slim chance of that. Unless the game is already won and in the bag, in which case... yeah. In which case it's pretty difficult. Sorry, in which case he's probably had some involvement. Palmer starts. My prediction is that Palmer will start based off the quotes that we had. Based off the quotes we had in the press conference. I don't mind the Man City defence, but Spurs have looked a little bit better going forward recently. How long have we got? 6 minutes. Oh. Possibility of Bruno obtaining 4 points off any of his routes to points, probably higher than Haaland scoring a goal. Potentially. It's just Bruno's routes to points, but the uncertainty of his positioning at home to Fulham. Basically. Saka is only benched because I'll just get the auto sub for Dorgu. It's all it is. It will look like this. Foden or Wilson? I'd play Wilson over Foden. If I think Haaland's going to score, you should captain Haaland. I hate these decisions. I really do. I think I'm going to keep it on Bruno. We're going to have the same City's captaincy debate next week. We are. Yeah, it will probably be Bruno next week at home to Spurs, which then is weird because I'm not captaining Haaland against Spurs. But Adam, let me bench Bowen or Krupi. I'd probably play Bowen over Krupi. Start 2 of Thiago, Senesi, Alderete. I probably would bench Senesi. I think I'm going to go Bruno. And I know after the deadline I'm going to regret it. I'm going to say, why didn't I just do what I do and keep it on Haaland? Munoz or Wilson? I'd probably play Munoz over Harry Wilson, I think. Bench 2, Croupy, Wilson, Dewsbury Hall, Tarkowski, Richards. Croupy, Wilson, Dewsbury Hall, Tarkowski, Richards. Croupy, Wilson, Dewsbury Hall, Tarkowski, Richards. I would bench... I'd definitely play Wilson. I'd play Tarkowski. I'd probably bench Richards and I'd play Croupy. Why not Gabriel captain? Feels like a high floor. Yeah, I think that's fair, but I think Bruno also probably feels like a high floor. Any leaks on anything? No, nothing as of yet. No. Everyone else is doing Bruno, but that doesn't help because my team is worse than everyone else's. Bruno captain is nice this week. Do I think Bruno will get DEFCON? Not guaranteed. He's not quite as good for it playing slightly higher up the pitch, but... Spurs have won 1 in their last 8. What about O'Reilly? It's the captaincy is so close. It basically is. I can't really offer a strong sort of confirmation either way. Like Azor in the chat saying Bruno will get 2 assists, but if he gets 2 assists, he'll end up with a 12-pointer, which Haaland would have to score twice to get, which is possible, right? His attacking returns, like, I'm like, oh, he doesn't have much goal threat, but his assist potential and the way he gets bonus is pretty similar to just Haaland scoring goals. So I think I'm going to captain Bruno. I think. Spurs are worse at home. Fulham are a better team than Spurs. Dr. Tottenham, there's so many. Honestly, when it's on one player, all the comments are saying you need to swap it. And then when you swap it, all the comments are saying you need to lose back. You need to swap it back. Start 2 of Wilson, Lafie, and Anderson of Forest. To be honest, I'd probably bench Harry Wilson in that example. I'd play Enzo Lafie over Harry Wilson. They couldn't score against Fulham in the first game. That's because Bruno missed a pen. And it was Amarin. Like, I think if anything showed us over the past couple of games what the difference of a manager can do. But Bruno also missed a pen in this game. Bruno had this and they would have won and he hit 13 DEFCON, right? If that goes in and he's got like a 12-pointer there. Anyway, that is going to be 1 minute to the deadline. Please go and check your teams. I am going to leave my captaincy on Bruno. It is 1 minute to go until the deadline. We are going to lock it in there. And Bruno will be my captain. Dorgu is first sub. It doesn't particularly matter. Saka, I decided just to start. It's not worth the headache and the risk when it doesn't actually impact your week. Anyway, that is all. Go and check your teams. Lock it all in. Put the captaincy in place as that will be the game week deadline. And we have gone with Bruno. We have gone with Haaland, vice captain. Bruno, captain. Team locked in. That is that. Right, let me just post my team. Game week 24. Transfer rolled. Captain Bruno. That is it. Good luck, everyone. Have a nice weekend. Will Semenyo take pens from Haaland? No chance. Haaland will always be on pens. Haaland will always keep pens. that is that. That is that. We are going to stick around. Some people asking about Fantasy Challenge. People are talking about Club. Yeah, we're going to stick around for a little while. If you are heading off, thank you all very much for joining. Please do like and subscribe if you are new. Thank you all. And yeah, we'll stick around for a little bit. We're going to play Fantasy Challenge. Salah will take pens back from Szoboszlai. Yes, we think. And yeah, we will do that all in a minute. I do just need to nip to the toilet. I've been drinking too much water during this stream, so I'll be back in just a moment. Stick around as we'll be back in a minute. If you are heading off, have a lovely weekend. Good luck with your team. And yeah, we'll be back in a moment. I didn't realise I turned my camera off as well. I was looking for the buttons. So, let's get Fantasy Challenge up, shall we? I think I'm going to have to log in. Hence the hiding of the screen. Oh no, I did it automatically. Also, let's check my club lineup is all right as well. So anyone who hasn't played club already, it's basically a free-to-play combination between fantasy and ultimate team, where every couple of hours you get given a pack. And if you like the player in your pack, you get to add them to your lineup. So again, let's have some predictions in the chat about who it's going to be that I'm going to get. Predictions are any Premier League player. Correct predictions get a congratulatory from me. That's all you get. But guess some Premier League players. Let's see who I get. So my lineup for this week, and also if you do sign up, it's completely free to play as well. Completely free to play. And if you sign up, you get matched against players who have played for a similar amount of time to you, not players who've been playing for like years like I have. So let's take a look. Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? Core, rare, good. Forward. Leeds, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He is going to get rejected. So this is my lineup this week. I do unfortunately have Ollie Watkins in my team. So I've got Raya, Timber, Cash, Senesi, Enzo Lafitte, Ahmad, Rogers, Szoboszlai, Foden, Watkins, Wilson. You will also notice that I basically fill my team with players who I don't have in FPL, because I like to have a team in case I have a bad week of FPL, basically. Yeah. So that's my team. If you want to sign up, there's a QR code there. There's a league code to join down there if you haven't already. I'm going to the Chelsea game this evening. Right. Which one do I want? This one. So what's the challenge today? People pick their... There you go. Why didn't I accept him? Because he doesn't fit into my lineup. And you have a budget, right? So you can't just accept every player. You only can accept a certain number of players, and you have a budget. And I didn't. He's unlikely to start for me. Pretty much over the next few weeks with their fixtures. So I don't think he was. Yeah. Right. Yeah, we've got 9 minutes to go until the teams come out. So we'll stick around. We'll stick around until until 1:45 until that happens. Yeah. So who is it? Plus 4 points for every headed goal attempt. Can you sort by? I mean, I'm gonna go. I'm probably gonna go Raya. Can I sort? Is there a headed goal? Is there a headed goal attempt thing? No, I might have to go on player stats on here. Gabriel for sure, yeah, probably. But it's number of attempts. Like, you don't just have to score. Outfield players. Rolls, Gabriel, Sharda, people are going with. Goal threat. Total headed attempts. Is there a... There is. Oh, it's total headed attempts. Literally 2 below the line I clicked on. Good. Haaland's definitely going in, of course, and he's getting the Captaincy armband. Enzo's quite high up, so we're going to pick Enzo. Who else is high up here that I don't own? Evan Nielsen, we like that. Defender. Oh, yeah, Dan Ballard. Oh, no, Van Dijk. Van Dijk. And let's go 1-2-2-2, and we'll have another midfielder in Kevin Sharda. What? Why is he so high? We'll go like that, I think. For this week, Virgil van Dijk is in. Harry Maguire, yeah. Maybe I don't need Evan Nielsen. Let's go with 2-2-2-1. And I'm going to put Dan Ballard in there at home to Burnley on Monday night. We're going to leave it like that, I think. Do I think there will be a mass rotation for Chelsea Day? You have James and João Pedro. I don't think Reece James will probably start, but João Pedro could. Yeah. I feel like the Chelsea lineup is quite difficult to predict. Now, you thought this... So let's anyone got any questions in the chat? Has anyone seen a pigeon today? Someone in the chat earlier actually did say that they saw a pigeon earlier. No Arsenal defender, fair header is mad. The issue is I tend to pick my fantasy challenge team exclusively off players that I don't have in FPL. So I can't really pick Gabriel. So I've gone Raya, Van Dijk, Ballard, Sharda, Enzo, Haaland. Like, I pick players that I don't want to do well, basically. Do I think Arsenal will bottle the league? I don't. I think they will still win it, but listen, if in 2 hours' time they haven't beaten Leeds, then maybe my answer changes. But yeah. What's the pigeon thing? Basically, we always have this question of the last time that people saw a pigeon. And it's been a long time. What does Fantasy Challenge give you? Pride. If you're not in my leagues as well, there is a league code up above me for both Fantasy Challenge and for the normal Fantasy if you haven't joined either of those. Do I think there'll be any Chelsea team links before 3? Probably not. Odegaard doesn't start. Odegaard doesn't start, apparently. No, but I don't have Haaland captain, right? So he technically is a player that is negative for my rank if he does anything. Yeah, apparently no Odegaard. Team News and Tix was just posted on Twitter. And then he says, but someone else does, but I don't know who that is. Yeah, the lineups will be out in 4 minutes. So we'll be sticking to see all of those. Who else is there? Is there anyone at risk in those? Brighton, Everton. Oh, I've got Verbruggen. Dewsbury Hall will be interesting. Michael Keane will be interesting. Oh, it's Havertz or is it Eze? Yeah, Arsenal. I suppose people will be looking at Krupi, Senesi and stuff like that. But we're not really expecting anything too shocking. What do I use to check the lineups? I only use Twitter. In club, which 3 would I start out of Semenyo, Palmer, Pedro, Saka, Evan Nilsson, and Burma and Cunha? I'd probably start Saka, Semenyo, and Burma, probably. Oh, is that... I didn't listen to the music. Implies that it will be Havertz. I wonder if that means he's up front. Triple, let me take a look. Your plan is to swap him to Gay next game week. Keen to Mark Gay, yeah. Alderete, Mukiele, Bruno Fernandes, and Burma, Cunha, Rice, Palmer, Haaland. Yeah, team looks great. Team looks really nice. 0.5 in the bag now. Nothing after Keen to Gay. Team looks really solid. Odegaard doesn't start. Yeah, it depends whether it's Havertz in the 10 or Havertz up front. But I just think Havertz in the 10 with no Odegaard or Eze feels a bit weird, no? How would that even work? But maybe it is Havertz up front, but then it's Eze. And Eze played 90 midweek. But maybe he just wants like the aerial box crashing that Havertz brings. Yeah, apparently that's what I'm seeing on Twitter as well, that Odegaard doesn't start. But I wonder what that means. I don't watch wrestling, so I can't help you on predicting the Royal Rumble. You think Gyökeres will start? Maybe. But Gyökeres started midweek, so probably not. Because that's the song of Havertz's chant. 50 million down the drain. Kai Havertz scores again. I can't sing too much or I'll get demonetized. But it's the Havertz chant. I used to watch wrestling when I was younger, but like not religiously, but just to pass the time. Yeah, it's just whether Kai plays up front or he plays in the 10. If he plays in the 10 with Jesus, that's interesting. I don't have a hatred towards Havertz as a Chelsea fan, if I'm honest. He won us the Champions League, so yeah, Andy's an Arsenal player. He's been an Arsenal player for long enough now that yeah, I don't feel hatred towards Havertz really. He won us the Champions League. So he will always have that. He will always have that. Kai Havertz. So yeah, I don't. Eze will start in the 8. So that means no Zubimendi, you think? Have I ever played as a goalie? I did a couple of times when I was younger, and you sort of need players, but yeah. Here we go. Bournemouth. Hill, Krupi, Evan Nilsson, Senesi all start. Jimenez also starts, so he'll be a right wing again. Rice, Havertz. Yeah, no Eze. Gyökeres, no Jesus either. No Calafiori. It's Hincapié at left back. Zubamendi, Rice, Havertz, Saka, Trossard, Gyökeres. Michael Keane starts. Michael Keane starts, as does Dewsbury Hall, as does Branthwaite. Anyone start Michael Keane in the end? Anyone start Michael Keane? Anyone who's still got Minter, he's on the bench. Welbeck starts. Van Heck starts. That Everton lineup is interesting. O'Brien, Tarkowski, Keane, Branthwaite. Four at the back. Four centre-backs. Everton have got four centre-backs. Saka is starting, yeah. Yeah, Saka starts. Oh, so David Moyes recalls Branthwaite back to the starting lineup after returning from injury. Michael Keane, who was set to be on the bench, has also been handed a start with Mykolenko ruled out. Jake O'Brien plays right back. So Michael Keane owners, it sounds like you got a little bit lucky, and it also sounds like he might be an issue going forward, but he starts today. So four centre-backs. I mean, outrageous. So it's probably something, if you're a Keane owner, you might also want to deal with it because it sounds like he wasn't meant to play. When you've got four centre-backs, should we just call them wide backs? Isn't that what they called them in the NFL? Come on, Tarkowski. DEFCON, clean sheet and a goal. I just presumed Verbruggen was starting. Back four of centre-backs. How many of them do you think gets DEFCON? If they concede from a set piece, then they all deserve to be fired. 1-0 Brighton with all their short players scoring from a header against four centre-backs. They don't deserve it. How many of them are going to get DEFCON? That's the question. How many of them will get DEFCON? What are my transfer plans going forward? I know it's a week away, so let's have a look at this. So I rolled my transfer this week. So I got two next week. Let's hope that Bruno outscores Haaland and I can get a green arrow. So this will be my team for next week. Anderson, Tarkowski in there. We've got Dubravka versus Verbruggen will be close. Haaland, Ekitike. So it depends a couple of things. It depends on three things, I think. A, who wins in the cup? If Arsenal double or Chelsea double. B, how does Ekitike do? And C, how does Saka do? Because there's lots of routes for me, right? If Ekitike disappoints and Chelsea double, then I just do Ekitike to João Pedro. That gives me loads of money that I can do Dorgu to Chalobah, right? If Chelsea were to double. So that's one route with two transfers. That's one route. If Ekitike disappoints but Chelsea don't double, I don't actually love the replacements for him as much. Like it could still be João Pedro, but then I wouldn't need to go and buy Chalobah in here. I could buy someone else like a Van Dijk or a Munoz potentially. If Ekitike does well and Saka doesn't do well and Arsenal double, then I could do Saka to like Umbermo, Dorgu to Timber or someone else instead of Umbermo, depending on how they get on. Or if Saka disappoints and Chelsea double, then I'd probably do the same couple of transfers and I buy Enzo and Chalobah. Enzo and Chalobah. Also leaves me 2.3 million in the bank. as well, which is quite nice. Or if Arsenal double, if Chelsea double, regardless of what Saka does, I'll probably sell Saka. But if Arsenal double and Ekitike and Saka both look good, I'll probably roll again. I think. I'd probably roll again. Because the only way for me to make changes to my team is by getting some money. And I can't get some money without selling Ekitike or Saka. So if next week I think that if I want to keep Saka and Ekitike, then I don't really see anything in here. So let's just say, right, for the sake of it, that Ekitike and Saka both scored hat-tricks just to rule out people wanting me to sell them. Then what would you do with this team? Like, let's say we can't sell Ekitike or Saka. I'm covering up on my screen. Like, that's gonna help, and then you're gonna be able to see it. If you're not gonna sell Saka or Ekitike, what transfer would you do with your team? I understand that 90% of you would say sell one of Saka or Ekitike, and that probably is what I'm most likely to do. But in the off chance that they both look good, then what do I do? I probably roll, right? Talk to Chalobah. Maybe, but if Chelsea don't double, then I don't, right? If Chelsea double, then yeah, I have moves. I have moves to make. But if Chelsea don't double, then I think I roll again, right? I roll until I'm happy to sell Saka or Ekitike, which will be 27 when I can sell Saka after the double, ready for the blank. And then I don't know where I go. Thiago to Guiu, and then I go Saka to Rodgers and like Dorgu to basically anyone I want, basically. Like back to Van Dijk or something. So yeah, it depends a lot on those two players. Depends a lot on those two. Yeah, basically. Sold Saka. He won't get in your team ever again. I'm not sure that's true because he's set for a price drop, right? What would they price Saka next year? 9, 8, 8.5, 9? 9 probably. And you've got to think that everyone that we're enjoying owning is going to go up and Saka's going to come down in price. I would like Mbeumo. Yeah, so like I could do Mbeumo in this place instead of Rodgers. Depending on how they've got on, yeah. Yeah. Ekitike to Krupi, it gives money in the bank. 9, 9.5. Yeah, I think it depends, right? It depends how the season ends. But if the season ended now, I think they'd price Saka at 9. I think. Rice 8.5. Yeah, and then everyone just owns Saka over Rice, right? That's the thing. If Rice goes up to 8.5 and Saka comes down to 9, you're just owning Saka, aren't you? Haaland would drop too. Yeah, Haaland would drop. Salah would drop. Right, so next year, Haaland will drop. Saka will drop. Bruno will rise. Palmer will drop. Yeah, they won't make significant drops on these players just for one-off season. Bruno's the only premium that's likely to rise, right? Bruno's the only one that's probably going to rise at the moment. Why will Haaland drop? Just because they made him... Didn't they make him 15 million this year? Or was he 14.5? Just like that's quite a lot. He needs to be doing a lot to do that. Now, he started well. Depends how the second half of the season goes. Why would Bruno rise? Because he's been pretty good. I think they did underprice him. He was what? Was he 9 or was 8.5? Maybe 9's all right, actually. But I think Bruno would go up. As a general question, why have two people in the chat come in and said that Verbruggen's not starting? Well, I've got the lineup in front of me. Someone said Verbruggen benched, and someone else has said Verbruggen not playing. I've literally got the Brighton lineup, and he's starting. I mean, I don't mind if he doesn't, but like, it's one thing to do it before the lineups come out, but I've literally got the lineup. I understand the idea of coming into troll, but if you do it before the lineups come out, then at least I cause a little bit of panic. Whereas now, it doesn't cause any panic because I'm literally looking at the lineup with Verbruggen in it. I'm literally looking at it. So yeah, that's my plan with my team. My plan with my team going forward. I presume Petrovic started. It was even before the warm-up. Yeah, it's not like he got injured in the warm-up because the warm-up hasn't even started. Verbruggen injured in the warm-up. That would be... to be honest, I've got Dubravka. It's not the end of the world. I actually don't think I'd care. Verbruggen saw Everton playing with 4 centre-backs and he didn't want to do it. Oh, gosh. Leicester. I mean, anyone a Leicester fan in the chat? Probably not. You're probably watching the game. A red card, 2-0 down, and a missed penalty. That is rough, that. That is rough. To Charlton, who are now closing in the gap behind them. Yeah, and actually, I just played Dubravka next week. I think he's got West Ham at home, right? Yeah. Predict the games today and the goal scorers. You'll realise that when I do that, I often predict my team to do really badly. So, Brighton, Everton, 1-1 with a Dewsbury Hall goal, probably. Leeds, Arsenal, 1-0 Arsenal. Goal from Timber, probably. Wolves, Bournemouth, 2-0 Bournemouth. A goal for Evan Nilsson and a goal for Krupi. Chelsea, West Ham, 5-0. 5 João Pedro goals, all assisted by Enzo. 4 Enzo assists and 1... And what are people talking about? And then Liverpool, Newcastle, 0-0, probably. Exactly. Just predict stuff that's bad for my FPL team. That's all I do. What are people talking about with Verbruggen? I don't really understand. I'm being trolled. I have the lineup and I'm still being trolled. I've literally got the lineup and people are trolling me. I mean, he'll probably only score 2 points regardless. What is people saying about Verbruggen? He's starting. I mean, he might not get any points, but... No, it's not lazy FPL. Honestly, there's nothing. Verbruggen, you're making me doubt myself. So the troll has worked then. It seems to have done. Yeah, it seems to have done. Even though I literally have the lineup. And here's another version of it. Verbruggen starting. Can't believe Verbruggen's playing up front. Verbruggen... Why? It's the fact that loads of people have said it that don't know each other. That's... It's like you're all in another group chat just... saying, right, which random player for Harry should we say is not starting anymore? To be honest, I've got no issue with Verbruggen not playing. Verbruggen didn't get on the bus. To be honest, I've got no issue with Verbruggen not playing because he's rubbish and Dubravka is just as good at him. But Verbruggen is playing. Oh, Verbruggen's on holiday. That's where he is. Yeah, Verbruggen header, just like the Benfica goalkeeper in the Champions League. Well, don't just tell me all my players are not going to start. No one's starting. All of my players are benched. Well, that's not good, is it? Verbruggen in Australia. Oh dear. God, my whole team is benched. Verbruggen red card in the dressing room for coming out too early for warm-up. God. All the goalkeepers have gone on a trip together. A little mid-season holiday. Or every goalkeeper. No, actually, just Verbruggen and Dubravka have gone on holiday together. Someone has an over-under on how many times you say Verbruggen. Dorgu coming in for Verbruggen for you. Oh, well, that's good. This ain't funny anymore. Well, no. I don't think it was funny to start with, but... Someone in Twitter, thank you, FPL Spike, for tagging me in the Brighton lineup that includes Verbruggen. I appreciate it. Oh, no. Lazy FPL haven't... Oh, dear, they're funny. You're funny. I'm actually checking Lazy FPL. Seeing if they've said anything, but they haven't. Yeah, funny. I wish I had started Dewsbury Hall now, because he's just going to spend the whole game spamming crosses to 4 centre-backs against the Brighton team, who are all about 5'5", it feels like. Here is a prediction. One of those Everton centre-backs will score. One of those Everton centre-backs is going to score. And it will be a Dewsbury Hall assist. Basically, that's my prediction. Nothing on any Chelsea team news, no. The game is too far away from that. You decided not to play this year, first time you've dropped by one of your streams. You've enjoyed the season so much more. Well, thank you for still dropping by. I appreciate it. I hope you're having a nice time not playing this game. I hope you are well. Verbruggen just got thrown off the top of the Hell in the Cell by the Undertaker. Oh dear. Yeah. Right. That's enough of this. I think we're going to wrap it up there. I need to go and have some lunch. I think I'm going to go for a run, and then I've got to go to the Chelsea game this evening. Thank you all very much for joining and putting up with all this after deadline nonsense. Have a good one. Let's hope that Verbruggen starts after all this. And yeah, let's hope for some green arrows. Have a good one, everyone. Have a lovely weekend. And yeah, I will catch you all very soon. Bye.